Well, hi. It's been a bit. I was not able to join you last week, and I wasn't even able to join you at the conference, and I was so sad. Before we go any further, my name is Tamara Carroll, and I am your host for tonight with Life with Lipedema Loved, Valued, and Treasured. I threw my back out the morning of conference and I just couldn't believe how much pain I was in. And I was walking all crooked and I had a really hard time sitting. And there was just no way that I could have even sat at my desk and just watched what was going on. So I have to watch the replays, but I'm super excited to do that and be able to watch all the replays of all of the conversations. So if you were on the conference, let me live vicarious with you through you with the Heart to Heart conference that just finished a couple weeks ago. And let me know in the comments maybe one special thing that you loved about the Heart to Heart conference. That would be really fun. So, my guest tonight, we're going to be talking about positivity and living with lipedema with a positive mindset. And I always like to start out my show with a little message for you. This one says, don't worry if people don't like you, and focus your energy on loving yourself. Then the right people will reflect that love. And I think that you're really going to enjoy my guest tonight. Her name is Karen Taylor. She's actually one of my neighbors. And hi, Karen. Thank you for
Hey.
joining. Let me just tell you a little bit about Karen before we get going. Karen has had lipedema since the birth of her daughter 57 years ago and has learned so much about her condition through her research. She offers a very positive attitude about living with lipedema. So when I first met you, actually, it was kind of a friend, my hairdresser and your hairdresser, and our dear friend Kim, that in our community here. And she kept telling me about this lady named Karen that I really needed to meet Karen, that she was such a positive person and a joy to be around. And so I had my heart to heart gathering, and unfortunately, she wasn't able to come to that one. But we figured out that she lives right around the corner from me practically. And so I got to go hang out with her last week, I think it was, and get to know her more. And I just think it's just such a huge blessing. So thank you for joining us. Would you just take a minute and just share a little bit about your story, Karen?
Sure. I made notes, so I won't skip anything. But really, my journey began when my daughter was born, and actually, it was like maybe a year after. But mine started with having blood clots and cellulitis attacks. I had no idea what was happening to me. And for the first few years, I would say age 25 to 35, I was in and out of the hospital constantly, and nobody knew what was triggering the blood clots or the cellulitis attacks.
Mm.
Um, a couple times and the blood clots were very, very painful, and my legs would just randomly swell up, and we had no idea what was going on. And then, through the years, I started going to doctors, and I would tell them, hey, I'm going to have a cellulitis attack. I could feel it coming on, and they would tell me I was crazy. And then the diagnosis was sadly strictly obesity. You are chronically obese, and that was the end of the story. Back then, nobody had any knowledge of anything, and I think during that period of time, I probably in 1 year, went to over 50 doctors trying to figure out what was going on with my body and why I was gaining weight when I knew that I was working a full time job, standing on my feet. I was physically active, and I was always have been not 100% healthy eater, but a really good eater, not a lot of junk foods, not a lot of soft drinks, all that kind of stuff. But still, no matter what, I even went to vascular surgeons. I went to every kind of doctor you can think of. And finally, one day I said, you know what? enough. I've always listened to my body. I said, so I'm going to listen to my body and find out what works with it. So I kept, like I said, in and out of the hospital until I was 35. And then at 35, though, I did buy in. I got moved to Florida and I bought into the hype that it was my fault. So many people tell you that, and then you begin to believe it. So at 37, I had my stomach stapled and I lost all of like 25 pounds, go through that horrible surgery and lose 25 pounds. And so I almost got depressed, but fortunately I was in an area where there was a lot of self-improvement. I call them my self-improvement classes. And I realized that people were coming up to me and going, "Oh my gosh, you have the most beautiful face. Why don't you bother to lose weight?" And sometimes I was like, "You don't know me," and I'd walk away. And I know sometimes I was like, borderline rude, and I thought, "I don't want to live like this. This is not who I want to be. I'm not a hateful person. I don't want to be that person." So I started looking around and I started taking meditation, and I started, actually there was classes in forgiveness because you have to forgive yourself and your body. And I started taking as many as I could and meeting a lot of positive people and just making sure I was in that atmosphere and that becoming who I wanted to be. It wasn't easy. Sometimes it was difficult, but I worked hard at it. I wrote probably 1,000 letters forgiving myself and forgiving other people because, learning to do that. But
my heart as well. Yeah, I share about that.
But somebody asked me, how do you know? Because you don't forgive other people for them. You forgive them for you, and you forgive yourself so you can move on. But the funny thing is they said, how do you know? And I said, the funny thing is, you don't even have to, when you've truly forgiven yourself and you've truly forgiven somebody else, it's like this weight has been lifted off of you and everything becomes pleasant and lighter. And you don't have any reaction to the bad things that either they do or you do. Like, I don't get upset about my lipedema. I was telling Tamara earlier, I get more upset about the lines on my face than I do about my body because I understand my body now. It is what it is. I have this condition and that's okay. This is what I have to do.
By the way, I'm like, wow, I feel like I'm this when I'm around you.
Lift that thing up, That's what I do facial yoga. So what can I say? Gotta fight it with what you got. But a lot of what I do for myself is trial and error. If it works, I continued. If it didn't, I went somewhere else. But finally, at age 55, I met a doctor outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, where I was living. And just so happens that his wife was a lymphatic specialist. And he kept looking at me and he goes, you're so healthy and your blood work is so perfect. He goes, I don't get it. So he must have went home and talked to his wife about it. And she said, there is something that they're just now discovering that is a possibility. And it sounds exactly like this woman. And it was called lipedema. And the very first person I heard from was Dr. Catherine Seo. And so I started researching that. But at that time, there wasn't a whole lot out there. And she was just beginning to go to Europe and find out more and more about it at that time. So, but anyway, that I through her. And then just like I said, whatever I do works for me. And that's what I think we have to do. And I get up every morning and I tell myself I'm beautiful, I'm happy, I'm healthy, and I go from there. And I believe firmly that how you see yourself is how everybody else is going to see you. And if you see yourself in a negative manner or you see yourself as a sick person, I do not consider myself a sick person at all.
That's right.
I am Karen Taylor. I have a beautiful life. And I happen to have a condition called lipedema. It's very secondary for me.
It doesn't define us, right? It doesn't define us. It's not who we
are. No, it doesn't define me. It may be that there's certain things I can't do anymore, but that's okay. I find a way around them or I do something else. It doesn't matter either way, But when I go out, I'm healthy, I'm happy. And, I just want to bring more joy to the world, and I want to get along with everybody, and I love smiling, and I love, putting that positive spin on everything. I mean, I have been told I'm a little too positive, but I figured they can deal with it,
Crazy. That's funny. So,
So
thinking about
that's
being
me.
a positive person, have you always been that way? Has that been something in your life looking back? Or is
No.
it
Oh, no,
something
no,
that
no.
you,
I wasn't. No. Um, I was a I was a type of person that I was too easygoing, and if you push me too far, then I lashed out, and I could be very ugly with my mouth. I'll be honest with you. And
Mhm.
one day I took a hard look at when all this journey was going on, and I was spending all this time in the hospital, and I wasn't angry. I was just like hurt that I
Mm,
had this, and I spent so much time away from my family and everything. And I realized that this is not anybody's fault. This is just what it is, and I didn't want to be that person. And I said, I am going to be, I'm not going to be like that. I'm not going to let somebody push me and make me lash out, because then I didn't feel good about me. And I don't want to do that. I want to feel good about me all the time.
right.
So sticky notes were my weapon. I had sticky notes on everything. And
Mhm,
I
mhm.
bet you for 20 years, I got up every morning and go, you are beautiful, you are sexy, you are healthy, and you are happy.
Yeah, good job. I do those too.
So,
Yeah, I
and I
love
took every class, Kiwan, Tai Chi. I did everything I could. Meditation. I took every meditation class there was that I could get into, and every positive energy, whatever. I didn't care what religion it was. I was out there in it. So I immersed myself.
mhm.
That's what you got to do.
So I'm just wondering, we figure out the things that don't serve us anymore, right?
Absolutely.
And so, what tip could you give someone? I want to be specific on this question. And I also want to invite our audience, if you have any questions or anything you'd like to add to the conversation, please put it in our comments. We definitely want to make this about a conversation with all of us. So, going back to things that don't serve us and things that could be negative, I'm wondering if you have any hands-on suggestion. I love the idea of the post-it notes. We talked about that, doing classes, forgiving yourself. But people who are really struggling with the pain in the physical body and also our body image, if you could give one really good tip that you figured out, this thing isn't serving me anymore, and this is where I want to get to. What would you say to that person, to that lady who's watching tonight that has so much physical pain and really struggling with body image?
Um, I guess I would say let you really and truly for me, I had to let go of the anger. And I realized that there's nobody to blame. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I
And
let
you
you have to let go of the anger. When you let go of the anger and you forgive your body for the things it can't give you, being able to wear beautiful shoes, being able to wear this or that or the other, or um, once I had this condition start, by the time I got my 30s, dancing wasn't easy, and I love to dance. But
mm-hmm.
I just had to forgive it and go, okay, I can't do that, but I can do this, So I chose to, if what my body couldn't do, I chose to make my words my source of what I could give the world. A smile. I was walking downtown New Bern the other day, and there was a beautiful girl, young girl, walking towards me, and for some reason she looked so sad. And I said, "Excuse me," and she goes, "Yes." And I said, "You have undoubtedly the most beautiful young face I've ever seen." I said,
Mm-hmm.
"You are truly beautiful," and her face lit up. And
Yes,
she looked at me and she goes, "You don't know what you just did for me." And I
yes,
said, I'm grateful that I did. And I said, "Have a great day." And she goes, "Oh, thank you so much." And she stood up straighter and she walked on.
yes. I love to give compliments to people all the time, everywhere.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So my words are now my choice of what I can do for the world. And I
Yeah.
love adjectives, by the way.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. So, the title of my show, the name of it is Life with Lipedema, Loved, Valued, and Treasured. If you had to pick one of those words, loved, valued, or treasured, which one resonates with you the most today
Actually, loved.
and why?
Love because my family loves me as I am, and I love myself now as I am. You
Hmm.
know, I mean, I work hard to look good. I I take advantage of the things that I can.
Hmm.
Um, but I just believe that no matter what, I used to just only wear like black pants or stuff, but now I wear other things. I wear anything. And I feel like if I think I look good, then everybody else thinks I look good. And if I'm smiling, they don't notice below my smile. They notice my smile
Exactly.
and I wink. I'm a constant winker, but I would say love because I love everybody and I want to give unconditional love to every person I come in contact with.
That's so awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Um, and then I think I know the answer to this one already, but your positivity is so infectious. So I'm just wondering, we talked about how you give compliments to people, how you reflect, who you love yourself, and how it draws people to you in that way. Is there any other way that you can think of that people think of you? And there's a little net flying around here. Um, how does Karen change the world with your
Um,
positivity?
I am not sure that I know the answer to that, but you know, my nephew, I'm blessed. I have nieces and nephews. I only have one child, but I have nieces and nephews that might as well be my children. They love me. But my nephew was trying to describe me to somebody, and he goes, "How do I describe my Aunt Karen? She's got the soul of a hippie, and she just spreads love and joy wherever she goes. And her smile, she has a come hither smile."
Mm,
So if I had to describe myself, maybe it's that come hither smile that draws them in, and then I get to show them how much I love them.
that's great. For a long time, when I was doing life coaching with people, my nickname was the Joy Queen. And I just love that. I thought, yeah, I'll receive that. You want to call me the Joy Queen? Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah. Actually, I have a pencil holder here. It says the queen of absolutely everything. So, you know,
I'm
I
the
have
queen of the universe.
it
There
on
you go. My,
my grave.
my brother brought me one of these crazy story people, and it said I used to hate birthdays until I realized that I was the queen of the universe, so I do it for the little people. So we spread love for everybody.
And that's so cute. So, who inspires you? Is there a person that you can think of in your life that inspires you, and why?
Person that inspired me. Actually, it's going to sound crazy, but my mother was, I
Mhm.
loved her to death, but my mother was a very negative person, a
Mm.
very negative person. And early on, she couldn't forget anything that was not good. If you heard her any little tiny way, 50 years later, she remembered it. And I always knew that I didn't want to be that way. And when I told you about realizing that I needed to change, that was the day I realized that I was becoming my mother and I didn't want to be that negative person and spend my entire life holding grudges against people and being constantly negative. And I think maybe it had something to do with the time period she was brought in, and she had a rough life. I get that, but she was my inspiration to make sure that I didn't go there.
Mm, mm. That's
Kind of
good.
a reverse.
That's deep. Yeah. And so I think about who inspires me, and it is my mom. And she's been through so many things in her life, just really showed me how to become an overcomer. I think about, when I would complain or something, and she would say, well, tomorrow will be better. And she still says that to this day. Tomorrow's another day. What
It's
is
a clean slate.
And what is the other saying? Sometimes if you want to have a friend, you have to be a friend. You know, all of those little things. She used to leave little notes in my room growing up. And I think that that really inspired me, you know, to
Oh,
live
absolutely.
life. So shout out
Yeah.
to mom on that one.
Yes, indeed. Well, that's what I tried to do for my daughter. I tried to inspire her to be the best that she could be. There was no expectations for what she had to be. Just find your joy and let's go there.
Right, right. That's so good.
Hmm.
So, thinking about your word tonight that you chose loved. I'm just wondering if you could put that into a statement. And I know we've kind of talked about this a little bit already, but use it as a statement to encourage other women about loving themselves or feeling loved. Can you think of something on that track?
For me, I would say I have to expand on the word love to unconditional love.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Unconditional love is the kind of love that doesn't have expectations. It
mm-hmm.
simply has acceptance.
Correct.
And that's the kind of love I want to give everybody, and that's the kind of love I have for myself. I
Mm-hmm,
mean, I'm approaching. I'm only going to be 3 years from 80, and that's a hard pill to swallow.
mm-hmm.
But
It's amazing.
but thank you. But at the same time, I think about all when I get to that. Oh my gosh, this year I turned 77 and I'm only 3 years from 80. It's like a shocker. But at the same time, I look back on my life and think of all the beautiful things I've done and all the beautiful and wonderful people I've met. And sometimes it's just a matter of maybe meeting somebody for a couple seconds or meeting or that smile across the room,
Mhm,
that all of a sudden they light up, or
mhm,
of just maybe talking to somebody in the grocery line and they're so interesting.
mhm, mhm,
So when I start down the negative path, I go back and say, wait a minute, look at all you've had and all you've done and all the people in your life that love you and that want to talk to you and be around you. So
mhm,
unconditional love is how I would say it.
mhm. And unconditional love for ourselves as well.
That's what I mean. When I love myself, it's unconditionally.
Mhm.
It's not with any expectations or any parameters except for this. No, I'm just kidding.
Can you share that little story that you told me about um, your daughter and how she was defending you that day and how people see you? I love that story.
Oh, actually, it wasn't my daughter. When my daughter was a senior in high school, a friend of hers was living with her grandparents and it wasn't going well. And my daughter brought her home one day and said, she's living with us. And I went, okay, works for me. And so one day she got a ride home from one of her schoolmates that had met me. And he said to her, he goes, oh, you live with that really nice fat lady that is so nice. And she got so upset because she goes, I beg your pardon. She is not fat. What in the earth are you talking about? And she just went off on him and said, and she come in the house and I go, what's wrong? And she goes, he said you were fat. And I said, Fran, honey, I am. And she goes, no, you're not. Well, no, you're not. And I said, no, you love me unconditionally and you don't see me that way. And she goes, you know what? Maybe you're right, but I don't see you like that. And I said, because I don't see me like that. I have never thought of myself as fat. I just can't go there. So
Mhm,
it
mhm.
made me feel good that she didn't see me like that. And I realized then that people see you as you see you.
Exactly. Exactly.
Hmm.
There it is right there. I love that. I love
Me
that.
too.
Really.
I love that she did that for me.
Mhm. Well, thank you for sharing all of that. And I just wanted to let everyone know that on my blog for this month, I'm going to be sharing more information about being positive, loving ourselves unconditionally, forgiveness, all of those great things. So I would love to see you on the blog. And if you want to join the conversations there, if you're watching the replay tonight, give me a shout out on just say replay. Anybody who's on tonight, be sure and tell me where you're from, where you're tuning in from. We would love to give a shout out to you on that. And before we go, I also wanted to talk about the tribe with Lipedema Simplified. The tribe is open to join. And if you need community, I love the tribe with Lipedema Simplified. It's not only about conferences. We have book clubs, we have arts and craft group together, and it's all online. That's the wonderful thing. These women are global. And so we gather together with different topics that you want to discuss. There's emotional, physical, spiritual, and we have fireside conversations where we're all joining together. We have something called Emmy's Box, which is really fun. It has all kinds of inspirational activities that you can do, and it's full. It's a full program. So the membership is open, and we have orientation tomorrow with Catherine Seo and a few of the other leaders with Lipedema Simplified. So I want to encourage you to look into it and just get to know some other women that have the same thoughts and ideas as you, and just join the community. It's just really a beautiful experience to be with like-minded people. Hi, Nancy. Yay, you're from Michigan. Hi, Carol. Wow, West Australia. That's amazing. Welcome. So before we close, we just got a couple more minutes. If anyone has any questions for Karen, be sure and drop that into the chat. I want to tell you, Karen, that you truly are loved, and you truly are valued, and you truly are treasured. And I am so grateful that I get to call you my friend in real life. And
me too. Thank you. I feel the same.
Out and go to the same hairdresser. I saw Kim today. And for our audience tonight, you too are loved, you are valued, and you are treasured. We'll see you next week. Bye.